Let's set sail for the high seas, but this time do it a little differently. Instead of PFDs and flare guns and water safety training, what if all we brought was ghosts? Sounds pretty sweet, right? I'm sure all of you sea captains and boat enthusiasts are just fuming right now considering my flagrant flouting of all sorts of safety precautions, but this is a scary YouTube channel. We don't have time for protocol or procedure. We want phantoms and peril. Today we've got a mix of classic tales, legends of yore, and a couple of modern inventions too. Why not? So let's get to it already. The top 5 mysterious ghost ship stories, part 2. Coming at number 5, we've got the MS Antonia Graza. What better way to kick off a list about ghost ships than with the vessel from the movie, Ghost Ship. Folks really love this one and come out in droves to sing its praises whenever possible. It's easy to understand why too. With an absolutely brutal opening sequence and plenty of phantom fun aboard a wicked Italian ocean liner, there's a little something for everyone. The mystery behind the ship's fate is a fascinating one too, revealed over the course of the flick to great effect. See, all we really know about this ghost ship at the beginning is that there's some sort of tampering that caused the entirety of the crew and passengers to be sliced in half by a very tense wire. The only survivor was a young girl, as she was too short to be whipped in twain. Well, she survived the initial disaster, but being alone on a ship in the middle of the sea doesn't bode well for anyone. Decades later, a salvaged tugboat comes across the ghost ship and decides to give it a whirl. Upon boarding, they discover an enormous bounty of gold bars and an even more impressive collection of wayward spirits. They meet all sorts of ghosts who give them wishy-washy answers on what happened to them, all while some tugboat crew members are lured to untimely deaths by tricky spirits. This ghost ship keeps getting, well, more ghastly. It's a mystery right up until the very end, and even then there's more to discover. It's more than just ghosts aboard this ship, there are demons and soul collectors aboard as well. And if you think that's the end of it, well, I've got some news for you. It's not. If you want ghosts, mysteries, and ships, this is the movie for you. And even if just one of those boxes is something you want ticked, I promise it'll work quite well. So good luck, and watch out for the ferryman. Seriously, that dude's bad news. Coming in number 4, we've got the HMS Erebus And Terror. Now, this one's fun because it kind of crosses the line between history and fiction. If you're big into horror TV or horror novels, you've probably heard of this tale already, as it was adapted first into a book and then a popular series. Both known as The Terror, they take a look at the events surrounding a pair of particularly interesting ghost ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror. These did indeed set sail way back in 1845 on a mission led by Captain Sir John Franklin. They were meant to explore the last unnavigated bits of the Northwest Passage to see if there was anything to be learned from the magnetic data up there. Unfortunately, both ships became trapped in ice in what one day would be Nunavut. Not ideal, right? Well, some theorize that the deadly cold and lack of supplies were only the beginning of these sailors' problems. There are many possibilities and variables when you put over 100 men on a couple of ships stuck in a frozen wasteland, and for many years, nobody truly knew what their fates were. After being icebound for more than a year, the ships were abandoned. It's said that Franklin and many others had already died by that point. With that knowledge, the rest of the crew, including Francis Crozier and James Fitzjames, went out in search of land. They were never heard from again. More than a century and a half later, both wrecks were discovered and they're both regularly explored and studied. But what happened when the ships were stuck? Why did the crews wait so long before striking out for land? Were there really no other options? In The Terror, a terrifying monster is introduced to keep the plot tense and exciting. Could such a creature really have appeared? Elements like madness and cannibalism are also introduced in the fictional retelling of this wreck, which seems like they could have played a part in the real-life tragedy. Still, the tales from the ships are just as chilling now as they've ever been, and the fates of all those who abandoned the ships at the end are still a mystery. Did they freeze and fall beneath the surface? Were they discovered by Arctic predators? Maybe they were taken in by nearby tribes, never to return to their previous lives. Someday we may find out the truth, but for now, it's all conjecture. Coming in number 3, we've got the Wind Waker's Ghost Ship. Now we're back to some total fiction. In the most seafaring of the Legend of Zelda games, of course there's going to be a mysterious ghost ship to discover. Many folks looking back on their gaming experience recall this encounter with trepidation. It was freaky to find a ghastly vessel in what seemed to be a relatively cheerful game. especially when you couldn't actually interact with the ship without a specific chart. It would coast around the ocean, moving from place to place based on the position of the moon. Sailing at night became more of a thrill once you knew a ghost ship could cross your path. Worse yet, if you did have the appropriate chart and made it on board, you'd be greeted with plenty of skulls and a few enemies, which tells the tale of a very unfortunate crew if you ask me. Thankfully, there is treasure to be found on this ship, and once you open it, the entire ship will disappear, with a really creepy laugh to boot. Unbeknownst to the treasure seeker, they'll end up unconscious on their boat afterwards. How'd they get there? Who did those skulls belong to? Where did the boat go? All good questions, but not all of them have good answers. Ask around and you'll just hear tales of terror. Apparently the person who put the ghost ship chart together died shortly afterwards, so you can't even ask for more details. Oh well, that's life. Or afterlife. Coming in number 2, we've got the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. How does that old tune go again? A favorite of dads and policy majors everywhere. Well, we're not here to discuss Gordon Lightfoot, although it is a quality segue into this topic. We're here to talk about the largest ship to ever sink on one of the Great Lakes. This monolithic masterwork full of ore was famous for playing music all the time, which would entertain those along the shores when it passed through. However, it did meet a grim fate, and the story is still quite well known today. During a pretty routine trip, a hefty storm brewed. The captain was aware of this and sent some messages relaying the issues, but never a distress signal. However, that might have been helpful, as during the voyage that ship sank and all 29 crew members perished. To this day, no bodies have been recovered. Nobody knows exactly what happened to the Edmund Fitzgerald. After years of examination and theorizing, many potential factors could have come into play. Some say that it may have been swamped, others claim it could have suffered structural failure or even been shoaled. Regardless of the actual problem, no reports from the ship itself materialized, so it's possible we'll never know. And finally, at number 1, we've got the Flying Dutchman. Anyone else have their first experience with this ghostly tale through SpongeBob SquarePants? Only 90s kids remember, am I right? I'm gonna have to retire in shame after that one. Ignoring my tacky pop culture worship, let's talk about the actual ship, not the green tinted underwater ghost. For ages, mariners, sailors, and other water-minded folk have told tales of the vessel that can never make port. Doomed to sail the seas forever, this craft is a portent of doom. If you see this glowing aberration while on an aquatic journey of your own, bad luck is sure to find you. The origins of the ship are hotly contested, ranging from vengeful pirate tales resulting in a cursed ship to a captain selling his soul for safe passage after ignoring warnings of danger. But one can be certain that the deck is loaded with the souls of criminals and ne'er-do-wells. If you hear cries of "ah, ooh, ah," or spot a ghastly green light while sailing the 7 seas, good luck. So, are you looking for a new boat? I heard they're quite the hot commodity these days. Maybe reconsider getting anything second-hand though. Who knows what kind of myths and legends are associated with them. So, what'd you think of the list? Do you agree with my picks? What's your personal favorite ghost ship story? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more minuscule ones from the top 5 worst angels in the Bible part 2. The Lemond Drops Kid says the stickiest angel is Caramel. Christian Scott says the Archangel Michael should be pretty scary since he's the strongest angel and has defeated Lucifer a few times. See, I'm curious about your name more than your comment. Are you a follower of Christ named Scott, or do you just have 2 first names? Christopher C. says, I remember a saying, you cannot fathom the mentality or the plans of the divine. It would be as an ant trying to comprehend quantum physics. How do you know ants don't comprehend quantum physics? Have you asked them? Chris Red says, is Belphegor responsible for smartphones? I guess it depends on who you think the blame falls on, but I can see the argument. And last but first says Leviathan is just the modern day crocodiles. Well, I mean, crocodiles are pretty ancient, so I'm not really sure about that one. And that is all the time we have for today. I'm going to plug my nose with garlic and see what comes out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Calculator watch is on full display here.
Got the booby sign on there.
Oh, we gotta bring those back. Hey, let's get some silly bands and some boobies bracelets. My god. Bring it all back. Have everyone wearing the Nike Roshi runs again.
That's how we put boobs in the calculator, the 800.
Are you talking 80085? Yeah, let's get that going. Let's see. That's a little. Uh-oh. Let's reset it. Reset. 80085. And we'll see if anybody catches that Easter egg. I'll be like this at some point. See if it shows up. Alrighty.